Also, I don't know what this is. Like, what is this screen right now? Yeah, I don't know.
You on drugs?
What's up, folks, and welcome to the second part of an Indie Showcase double bill. Yes, indeed. So the last video that we did was on the re-release of Cotton 100%. I definitely suggest you go back and check that out as well if you haven't. I go into a little bit more detail about these re-releases here, but this is a different one entirely because, wow. So this is Panorama Cotton, and the last game was from the Super Nintendo. This is actually from the Genesis, but like that game, it never came out outside of Japan, and this version is still very much in Japanese. So I'm not going to go over the technical elements of this again. It's basically the exact same thing. You've got your standard mode and your challenge mode. You've got a little bit of video options, though they're limited compared to certain other games put out by Radaleika. You can also change what's called your shot overheat mode, which basically can make the game a little bit more challenging. And yeah, this game is what I would describe as Space Harrier on acid. If you thought shoot-em-ups were an interesting thing after looking at the last game, you have seen nothing yet. Oh my goodness. So this came out at the same time, and yes, while the other one is a more traditional horizontal shmup, this plays a lot more, like I said, like Space Harrier. And that's sort of the most famous version of this type of game, which is this behind-the-back, third-person. It is a shmup, really, but it's this third-person sort of pseudo 3D type of thing, and it's mental. It completely is. I mean, it's a little weird to play because it does run at this fairly low frame rate because that was the limits of the technology at the time. I mean, Space Harrier ran the same way, right? You get used to it. You definitely do get used to it. It's got the same sort of gem-based level up system for powering up your weapons that the last game did. Again, you know, go check out the other video if you want to know about those. But the interesting thing with this is that you actually have a life bar, as you can see at the top, which is actually not as easy to get recharged as you might think, and that you don't have multiple lives in this. So when that bar is gone, that's the end of your run. Also has an interesting scoring system there where it actually shows your sort of position on the leaderboards that will go up and show you the next score to attain as you progress. That's something that you see in a lot of modern games, but it actually wasn't done that often back in games like this. It's kind of cool, actually. And as you can see, my face is sort of obscuring it a little bit down there, but there's an experience meter that will level up your weapons, as I talked about in the last video. There is a magic system in this as well, but it's a little bit more involved. You actually can have numerous different types of magic that you can trigger off if you want. You can also sort of summon your little, as you can see there flying around me, your little sort of weird pixie helper thing to help you take this stuff out. And you'll progress through different levels, some of which actually have multiple paths, which is kind of cool. And I mean, you're seeing this. It's completely banana cakes. Yeah, it's chaotic. It's frenetic. It's utterly mad. It really is. I mean, Space Harrier was kind of a game to begin with, but this one really goes a couple notches further than that, if you ask me. And I'm not gonna lie, I find this one to be quite a bit harder, partially because the levels just come at you so fast and furious. Whereas Panorama Cotton was kind of slower moving and gave you an opportunity. Yeah, I see, I got myself screwed there. Whereas Panorama Cotton definitely was slower and gave you an opportunity to really take in the levels and sort of understand where things were going. This moves so bloody fast that you've got to learn. It really needs you to learn the levels as you go. That's the thing. You've got to play these things multiple times, and you've got to really understand and plan out your route, because things are moving so quick, and it's just so there's one of the multiple paths, and everything that's going on here is just so completely bananas that just doing this by the seat of your pants is going to be really, really difficult. And I'm playing on easy right now, don't forget. So, yeah. But I gotta say, I like the chaos in this. I think this game's actually really, really interesting. It's so 90s Japan, it hurts. And like shoot-em-ups in general, you're either going to think this is interesting or you're going to hate it. And if you're going to hate it because of the aesthetic, I mean, it doesn't get any better on that front. So you're probably not going to be really into this if the aesthetic bothers you. For me, the aesthetic, I mean, it's certainly not my favorite thing, but I like this because of how it plays mechanically. I just like how different it is. I think the level designs are completely nuts. The enemies are obviously all over the place. There's a ton of variety in this in terms of the enemies, not only their appearance, but how they attack and how you defend against them. And you're often, you know, fighting so many of them at one time. There's all the different magic options that you have available to you that you can actually stack there, as you can see, which is something that I think is a really interesting mechanic. Cotton 100% did that, where you could have the 3 magical attacks that you can switch between, whereas in this one you pick up different magic and you actually cycle through them, and they kind of stack there. And I think that's a really interesting mechanic. 90s shmups, there was a lot of good shmups in the 90s, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them were fairly samey and generic in terms of how they played, whether or not they were good. And what I really like about not only these, but the other more obscure Japanese shmups, and here's the tea time, except this time it comes from the front instead of from the top. What I really like about a lot of these more obscure shmups that Radaleka in particular have been putting out lately is that they all play very different and in unique ways. All the games from them that I have covered on this channel are not just generic spaceship, you know, shoot the aliens type shmups. They all have unique mechanics, whether it's their weapons or their level design. Also, I don't know what this is. Like, what is this screen right now? Yeah, I don't know. So, and there you go. You get some extra life as well for hitting certain score targets. That's how you get more life in this. Yeah, no, I don't. Thanks, Japan. So, and that's the thing that I like, is they have been putting out games that are lesser known, more obscure, and that all have something cool and different about them that makes them stand out from just your sort of average shmups. Even really good ones that people know and love. And this is certainly that. I mean, my God, like, just look at this. Look at this thing. It's completely bananas. And yeah, these 2 Cotton releases are a little expensive compared to some of Radaleka's other releases, likely because of licensing. You know, the developer who made both of these games back in the day is still around. So they probably had to license this, and for that reason, they probably cost a fair bit more than some of the other games they put out, which have not only been a lot more obscure, but were often from companies that are no longer around. So, you know, probably a little bit easier to get the rights to. So you got to make that as part of your thinking, right? But again, much like the last one, as a shmup enthusiast, these are perfectly decent re-releases. Have people done it better? Yes. Have people also done it a lot worse? Absolutely. And this is just so ridiculous that I like it as a shmup, but it just puts a smile on my face because I just see things happen and I'm like, what even is this right now? It's just ridiculous, and I kind of love it for that. I really do. You know, shoot-em-ups are a subgenre for a reason. They're certainly not going to be for everybody. And I'm not saying that this is one of my favorite shmups of all time necessarily, but it's just insane in a way that I adore. So if you were only going to buy one of these 2 Cotton re-releases, I would probably buy this one. If I think that's what I was going to do. You know, like other Radaleka games, like I said in the last video, Radaleka puts out a lot of stuff that are just easy trophy and achievement farms. And this is that. You can get a lot of trophies in this game fairly easily, but you can also choose to play this game the way it was originally intended, which is very challenging. So if you want, you know, a good shmup that's a good challenge and get some trophies along the way, hey, you can get the best of both worlds. It's all down to how you choose to play it. And like I said before, I'm really glad that someone is taking up the mantle, giving these older, more obscure games a lease on life and introducing them to an audience that would have had a very hard time playing them back in the day. Getting this back when I was growing up would have cost a fortune and been very hard to do because you would have had to import it. So I think it's really cool that this is happening, and this is a really interesting title. It's weird as all get out, but weird in a way I can get down with. So this is much like the other one. This is only on the PlayStation 4 and the Switch. I have no idea why it's not on the Xbox or on PC, because it would be dead easy. I would think if they've already got it running on this system, it would be dead easy to port to the other two, because they're effectively the same kind of processor, and the Switch very much is not, and this is on there. So can't really explain that, but I hope maybe they come to more platforms at some point, because yeah, more players is always a good thing. But yeah, that is Panorama Cotton. It's insane in a great way, and I think it's both a good shmup and just a ridiculous experience. I actually recommend both of these recent re-releases, but if you only want to get one, I would definitely get this one, just because it's far more unique, and I think just a more interesting game as well, if you can handle the frame rate, for sure. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it as always. Check out the video that came out at the same time as this one on Cotton 100% if you have it, because it's another game in this weird genre that's but that is different in its own way. And yeah, please subscribe and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell if you liked what you saw here. There's more stuff coming, including non-shmup things, I swear to God. But you know, I will always talk about shmups when they're coming, and I do have those in the pipe as well. And you can also drop me a follow if you would over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction. I'm a variety streamer over there covering retro and other indie stuff that we don't even showcase here. We have a great little community over there. I'd always love to see more faces there. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you on the next Indie Showcase. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take it easy.